So, your next complaint.
You want another one from me?
Yeah, let's do it. Can
I do a fast one?
Yeah, let's do a fast one.
You do one.
I have the only other one I have is
about me.
Yeah, if you want to do that part.
Okay, let's save that to the end.
Yeah, that's that. I feel like the you and me part is like it's a nice ending.
All right, I'll do this one quick, and then I'll go to the one I originally had told you about that I think is more something I would go longer on. But so the quick one is tipping culture. Now, I feel like it's a common thing that people don't love in this country.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear what you don't like about it.
I mean, I think of myself as a good tipper, so it's not like it's a being cheap type thing necessarily. I usually tip 20% standard. Great service, 25. Bad service, 10, 15, whatever. But it's obviously become much more spread into random shit where like someone's just handing you things over a counter and you still get the tipping.
Yeah.
You know, I know people complain about this a lot and it's not new, so I'll go quick with it. But it's just when you go to countries that don't have a tipping culture, it's like this level of like anxiety just washes away. You're like, oh, I don't have to think about this anymore at the end of the meal. Like you have a great time, food's great, have a good time with friends, and then you just pay what it is, and you don't have to think about, oh, what are my friends going to think if I tip 20 and he's a 30% tipper or whatever. Like there's so much social stigma involved with tipping in general.
If you're a 30% tipper, you are either rich or stupid. So.
Right. But like people think like people who are loaded, like famous or whatever athletes,
mm-hmm.
they're actually expected to tip exorbitant amounts as like a societal hand me out,
rebalance.
Yeah, rebalancing, wealth distribution.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're on the Lakers, you can afford it.
Right. But in general, I think it just should be removed. You should pay. I don't think waitresses should be surviving on tips because there could be people who come from different cultures where that's not a thing, and they could put in the same amount of work. They don't get that. It leads to kind of like stereotyping that they do, and there's always like on both sides this like uneasiness with it. I've been in some countries where they have tipping, and then they give you like the terminal to pay with, and then they stand there and watch you as you do it.
Yeah. They do that in Mexico.
Right. Latin American countries a lot. And that's even worse. That's like the most horrible form of
or they ask you, how much do you want to tip? He's like, I don't want to tell you a number. Right. I want to just type it in.
Then you got people who are bad at math, and they got to spend the whole time.
Buttons, preset buttons.
Right. Or they're looking at their phone doing the calculation or whatever. But like, I think it would relieve a lot of anxiety in general. But the reason it's there, going into the steps, restaurants don't want to pay a full salary to their employees in these tipping countries. They get used to that. And it's cheaper labor for them. And they're relying on the consumer to cover that.
It's interesting.
Now, the minute they have to pay their employees more, that means that the prices on the menu go up higher. I would much rather pay 20% more for my burger, let's say 15% more,
mm-hmm.
okay, rather than knowing like I got to be the person that pays 20 to compensate for the asshole that pays 5 or 10
or zero. Yeah,
because he's not tipping.
Yeah,
and it's inconsistent. So like, just make it consistent. Go ahead, raise the prices on the menu, and just relieve everyone of this bullshit. But
there are people who don't want the prices to be raised, right? Like
bad tippers, I'm sure they get to skate through life paying less than the rest of us.
Maybe.
What do you typically tip?
I tip like 20%, and during special occasions, I'll tip more. Or
what's more?
usually it's some strange number around that number, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Or something like if it's actually like phenomenal service, I don't know.
What's the most you ever done? 40? 50?
I wouldn't.
Or a
I
weird
don't,
number?
I don't remember, but I wouldn't doubt if I've tipped like 100% before, just because.
No way. If it's a coffee and you're hitting on the barista, fine. But if
we're not talking about my past life.
if it's an expensive meal, and what service could they have done that is worth 100% tip?
It's just I don't know, because I'm weird in a way. Like if it's something special about something, I can't remember.
Okay.
I like I'm on a side where I'm privileged enough to be able to afford to tip a lot if it's really good, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and spreading some sort of happiness to the world that isn't me in some way.
Do you feel obligated, or you want to do that?
So in general, it's an obligation,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes I want to,
Okay.
you know.
Okay. So if you could magic wand, would you get rid of tipping or no?
I think you're right that people should just be paid what they deserve, you know, and tipping should be an exceptional thing. Like I don't want to tip some person that sucked,
Mm-hmm.
but you do feel obligated because it's just the culture or whatever.
The worst form of it right now, it's happening. I do a lot of food delivery, and you have to pre-tip.
Mm-hmm.
And literally what I'm thinking in my head is if I don't tip this person before, and plenty of times they fucked up, they give me the wrong meal and they just say like, oh, deal with it. You know, I got to go get the credit from the restaurant or from DoorDash or whatever.
Yeah.
But so they're not even like incentivized to do a better job. It's just don't spit in my food. Like literally that's what the $10 I'm paying is. Don't fuck with my food.
Do they see the tip beforehand, or they?
Yes. So
Really?
the way they describe it to you on the apps is like this helps incentivize people to do the delivery.
Mm.
So like there's a bunch of drivers sitting around. They see a $1 tip.
Oh,
They're not going to take that.
Mm.
They'll just decline it unless they're super desperate or super short or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you tip a decent amount, it incentivizes them to actually take the delivery. But they're not incentivized to actually finish the delivery. That's just the taking part. And so I swear to God, there was a time where a guy puts down, like I had ordered pizza and I got fucking Chinese and I was right there.
Wait, what?
I got a totally different meal, a different name, everything. Because they take multiple deliveries and they go around or whatever. And the guy was pulling out of my driveway and I was like, hey, wait, you dropped off the wrong food. And he's only incentivized to just do the deliveries as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, just ask for a credit. I'm like, my food's fucking sitting in your back seat right now. I could run and grab it.
I want my pizza.
I want my pizza.
I don't want the chow mein.
And he took off. And I can't change the tip.
I think you can after the fact.
I can get bad ratings.
I feel, yeah, you might
I use
right.
DoorDash. Maybe it's different on Uber Eats, but like
there has to be something through like the help flow or whatever, the support flow that will let you like.
I've gone down that route because I've had some bad experiences where I'm like, can I remove the tip? The only thing I've seen you for sure can do is you can add more tip. I swear to God, you can finish the delivery and then they'll ask you, would you like to add more tip?
Yeah.
To the tip you've already given?
Yeah. No, I want to remove the, for me, first world problems. I almost always do priority and, it costs like $3 and they go directly to your place. So instead of delivering first, but I see people who are obviously going somewhere else
for sure.
And it doesn't usually it's fine, but sometimes they don't. And I've gone into the support flow and they're like, oh, do you have like a screenshot of the thing? It's like, no, I didn't. I'm pretty sure you have the route they took or whatever. And and that's where it's like, I don't want to give you a tip.
Traffic.
I want to punch you in the face when you come to my door. And not really, but I want to anti-tip you. Yeah.
Because one of the contrary arguments that someone could say is it's supposed to incentivize better service. But
the pre-tip?
Regardless, the tipping in general.
Yeah.
At restaurants especially. their work, like, because you tip at the end, right?
Yeah.
So the waitress is incentivized to give you better service so that she gets a better tip. But because of these cultural inconsistencies, or just, in general, people who tip less, it doesn't seem to work out that way. And I've been in countries where there isn't tipping and the service is better or it's the same. Like, it doesn't correlate necessarily to actually better service. If it was, maybe there's some aspects out there where that's the case. I don't know. Some, strippers do a better job if you tip. I don't know. Maybe that's the one thing that correlates. The more you tip, the better dancing you get. But like,
no, actually, if you tip them, they go to other people first, and then
you gotta get the priority.
Yeah, you gotta get priority. Yeah. Well, also if you're in a place like the U.S. where like 15% is customary, they don't even have to go do a good job because they expect 15%.
Exactly,
and they'll suck, and then they'll expect 15%. And you give them 0 because they like, called you an idiot or whatever. And I don't know.
So that's tipping. I don't know if you wanted to.
It's really interesting. So why, I guess if we go by this framework of complaining, why is it that way?
Like I said, because restaurants and service companies don't want to pay as much. They want to rely on tipping as a form of compensation for the employees. And
there's laws for like that's legally allowed. They don't have to do the minimum wage, I guess.
For service jobs, you don't have to pay minimum wage if there's tipping. So the solution is you get rid of all that and you just say you got to pay at least minimum wage and tipping's abolished.
But why did they make that system, do you think? Like, somehow someone in the government had to say that these particular jobs are allowed to be paid less than minimum wage because they will be tipped.
Honestly, given where I would have to look into the history of this, but I would think that tipping probably started in the food service business, in restaurants, and maybe maids in hotels too. And the correlation there is that women primarily worked those jobs. And there was a time when women's incomes were like supplementary as opposed to like the primary income for a family household. So it was like, well, they're just working part-time, in between kids or whatever the fuck. Like, I don't want to pay them full amount.
Yeah.
So let's just give them half and then tell, if the customer wants to be nice, they can tip. And that's when this all started. That
goes into a very deep subject of the imbalances of society. Yeah.
I don't get tipped for my job. Like corporate jobs don't get tipped.
Well, if you were
coal miners don't get tipped. Well, yeah, if I take the side deal. Yeah. That's a form of tipping. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. There's another path for you.
Yeah, the legal path. But yeah, the male-dominated jobs never had. You don't tip a plumber. The job is the job, and you pay what it's cost.
The job is the job. Do your job.
Lately, I would love to tip my airline pilot so that my plane doesn't crash. I would love to give him $100 and just say, "Hey,
the pilot's fault."
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Air traffic controller. Who do I got to tip to make sure I don't die?
There are no air traffic controllers left. They fired them all.
Fuck.
That's there.
Put some of Elon's kids in there. Like we got a labor force right there.
They're not old enough, sadly. I think there's so much to go into there. I think because we don't actually know why.
We don't know. We
have to research.
We need some producer guy to Google this for us real quick while we're talking. But
yeah, we can. That would be interesting to look up, but not for now.